Hello everyone, welcome to CNA, the daily newspaper analysis. So today we have got the following list of topics that you can see on your screen. So let's discuss. The first one says about the threat to Mohenjo-Daro. So हम लोग Indus Valley civilization में हम लोग सब पढ़ते हैं about the Mohenjo-Daro. So what basically Mohenjo-Daro means? So Mohenjo-Daro is directly the Mount of the Dead. Okay, तो यहाँ पे लिख देता हूँ मैं Mount of Dead. इसको बोलते हैं हम लोग मोहनजोदारो and it is a most important Harappan city. So Mohenjo-Daro is the best known Indus site today we have seen of this respective past. So it is located, kahan pe located hai? It is located in Sindh, Pakistan, just next to the Indus River. So here even you can see that in this area or in the city of Mohenjo-Daro, we can see the very great bath. Ye dekh sakte ho, great bath. Then even you can see some of the uniform buildings and weights that are very much of hidden drains and various other hallmarks of the civilizations which were discovered around 1920s. Okay, at Mohenjo-Daro, the most unicorn seals have been found also. Okay, जो unicorn type का seal है. देखो, due to the rising water table, we could see that most of the site remains unexcavated at the very earliest level. And the Mohenjo-Daro also has two mounts. एक हम लोग का यहाँ पे मोहनजोदारो में हम लोग का दो माउंट है, एक होता है वेस्टर्न माउंट, एक होता है ईस्टर्न माउंट. ईस्टर्न माउंट ज्यादा बड़ा है. वेस्टर्न माउंट इज लोअर व्हिच वाज डायरेक्टली एट अ सिटाडेल विद अराउंड साइज है ईस्टर्न का, वेस्टर्न का इनटू 200 मीटर इनटू 400 मीटर्स और ईस्टर्न का अराउंड 400 इनटू 800 है. So therefore I can see that eastern is a bigger which is having the relics of a buried city of size around, मैंने क्या बोला, 400 into 800. If I see about the Great Bath, so the Great Bath is what? The most famous building found at Mohenjo-Daro. It is around, ये जितना देख सकते हो, 6 into 12 meters, specimen of beautiful brickwork, and it has tank of around 11.88 into 7 length and breadth. Okay, और ये जितने भी डेप्थ है, ये डेप्थ कितना है? It is around 2.43 meters. Okay, तो ये हम लोग का क्या है? About the adjudications of the Great Bath. If we can talk about the granary, यहाँ पे एक चीज है granary, which has been found, which the largest building of the Mohenjo-Daro. And the granary is around divided into 27 rooms of different sizes. Also हम लोग को यहाँ पे क्या मिलता है? Assembly hall. The assembly hall is a square pillared hall with 90 to 90 feet and is directly one of the another feature of this Mohenjo-Daro city. And we all agree, even the various founders, even the scholars agree that this pillared hall was a site for social gatherings. So Mohenjo-Daro has shown an extensive use of using the bricks. यहाँ पे bricks देख सकते हो. And thereby we can find various evidences of this city was having some number of populace in some of the due past. Because we can see that we have find evidences of a piece of woven cotton along with a spindle, a bronze figurine of dancing girl. Mohenjo-Daro also gives evidence of violence leading to death. यहाँ पे mother goddess का seal मिलता है हम लोग को. Also, a bearded man has been found. Figurine of a bearded man. A seal with a picture suggesting Pashupati Mahadev has been found. Also, a seal which shows women to be sacrificed by a man with a knife in hand has been found at Mohenjo-Daro. So, this place is having such number of archaeological elements which can be very much preserved. But we can see because of the conditions which is directly not favoring today in Pakistan, this areas has not been well preserved. Today we could see that Pakistan's flood threatening to destroy Mohenjo-Daro as rains directly batter such Indus Valley civilization site. So we today know that as Pakistan's battle a devastating monsoon, workers at the ruins of Mohenjo-Daro, one of the two main centers of the ancient Indus Valley civilization. And with this torrential rains coming down hard on the country's Sindh province, the open air heritage sites are especially becoming hard to protect. Because there are various reports in the media even of Pakistani ka jo news, unka jo main news agency hai, that is the Dawn. So it showed workers pumping stagnant waters from the excavated trenches at Mohenjo-Daro. Aisa haal hai. So today it was the same river that directly breached its banks and caused unprecedented destruction in Pakistan, which at some period of time also destructed this Harappan civilization. So today we can see about that this area needs to be protected because there are some of the impressive structures at Mohenjo-Daro, which is directly impressed or which is directly been regulated even by the UNESCO World Heritage Site. Because we know that this Mohenjo-Daro city was designated as a UNESCO World Heritage Site around 1980. And why this city is very much affected with the flooding of the Indus River? Because this city of Mohenjo-Daro sits about 3 kilometers from the Indus Valley River system, and from which it seems to have been protected using artificial barriers. But today we could show that this area, because of the overflow of this respective water, this area is totally in a damaged state now. Also, we could see that not only this area, because meanwhile also there are various reports emerging out from Pakistan that because of this heavy downpours, it affects also some of the other heritage sites. Like I can tell about the Shah Baharo and the Tajjar buildings. Dekh lena net pe search karke. Shah Baharo, okay, SHAH Baharo, Shah Baharo, or Tajjar, TAJJAR, Tajjar buildings. And that is in Larkana and Mianur Muhammad Kalhoro graveyard in Moro. एक location है Pakistan. So some other graves and tombs have also completely vanished because of these floods. So these floods have also affected the Makli monuments in Thatta and Banbor, that is the two internationally renowned archaeological sites, and also a respective Buddhist stupa, which is directly in this area of Thur Mir Rukan, that is in Pakistan. So therefore, though all such number of things are directly getting devastated through the flood, but still their respective people or their respective government is trying to save all such number of areas, because these areas directly links them to the respective past of them. Okay, though ये लोग हमारे जैसे इनको excavate नहीं कर रहे, because they have got some of the problems associated with their respective religion. They do not directly also their past. ये लोग पाकिस्तान वाले लोग उनके जो past है, that is with the country of India, ये इन लोग दिखाना नहीं चाहते, तो इसलिए यहाँ पे एक्सकवेट नहीं करते ये लोग थोड़ा, ठीक है। तो यहाँ इसलिए दिस एरियाज आर नॉट वेली डेवलप्ड, एंड यहाँ पे भी अभी भी बहुत ज्यादा जगह हम लोग का बाकी है टू डायरेक्टली एक्सकवेट एंड टू डायरेक्टली गो फॉर वेरियस नंबर ऑफ फाउंडिंग्स ऑफ द इंडस वैली सिविलाइजेशन, ठीक है। तो ये डायरेक्टली एक थ्रेट था, इसलिए इसी न्यूज़। नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं, किड्स लैक बेसिक स्किल्स। सो टुडे इफ आई से अबाउट द किड्स, यहाँ पे क्या है, स्टडी रिपोर्ट किया गया है, 11% of the class 3 kids lacks basic maths and 37% have limited skills. So this nationwide study that is carried by the center found this number of habits. तो यहाँ पे एक स्कीम के बारे में बोला गया है अबाउट निपुण भारत मिशन, इसके बारे में हम लोग बोलेंगे। तो इससे पहले मैं एक चीज बोलना चाहता हूं अबाउट द फाउंडेशन ऑफ द लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी। सी, द नेशनल एजुकेशन पॉलिसी ऑफ 2020 prioritized the attainment of foundational literacy and numeracy for all children as an urgent national mission, and for this various number of subsequent guidelines were directly laid down by the Ministry of Education. Okay, और इसके लिए ही ये निपुण भारत मिशन शुरू किया गया था। निपुण भारत मतलब क्या है, नेशनल इनिशिएटिव फॉर प्रोफिशिएंसी इन रीडिंग विथ अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड न्यूमरेसी। फिर मैं बोल रहा हूं, निपुण का मतलब क्या है, निपुण का मतलब है नेशनल इनिशिएटिव फॉर प्रोफिशिएंसी इन रीडिंग विथ अंडरस्टैंडिंग एंड न्यूमरेसी। इसको बोलते हैं क्या, निपुण भारत। और इसका मेन मकसद क्या है, टू क्रिएट एन एनेबलिंग एनवायरनमेंट to ensure universal acquisition of foundational literacy and numeracy so that every child achieves the desired learning competency in reading, writing and numeracy, and by the end of grade 3, that is by 2026-2027. तो ये फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी एंड न्यूमरेसी होता क्या है, तो मैं अगर ये फाउंडेशनल लिटरेसी और न्यूमरेसी को मैं FLN बोलूंगा, तो सोच लो इफ दिस FLN इज क्या है, दिस इज ब्रॉडली कंसेप्चुअलाइज्ड एज अ चाइल्ड्स एबिलिटी टू रीड बेसिक टेक्स्ट and solve basic maths problems such as addition as well as subtraction. ये basic maths होता है, and this very FLN is one of the major themes of even our respective policy, which is known as the NEP policy of 2020, that is the National Education Policy. Okay, so therefore in 2021 itself the Nipun Bharat program was launched with a vision to ensure this universal literacy and numeracy, and it also envisaged for a 5-tier implementation mechanisms which is set up at the national state. तो यहाँ पे 5-tier mechanisms क्या है of this निपुण भारत स्कीम, पहले आता है नेशनल, उसके बाद आता है स्टेट, उसके बाद आता है डिस्ट्रिक्ट, उसके बाद आता है ब्लॉक, उसके बाद आता है स्कूल। तो ये 5 टायर क्या है, इंप्लीमेंटेशन मैकेनिज्म्स। नेशनल लेवल में भी होगा, स्टेट लेवल में भी होगा, डिस्ट्रिक्ट लेवल में भी होगा, ब्लॉक लेवल में भी होगा, एट द वेरी स्कूल लेवल विल आल्सो गो फॉर सच नंबर ऑफ थिंग्स, and this should be suit all the respective states as well as UTs. And this respective scheme will directly come under what? Centrally sponsored scheme. Okay, and which directly also comes under the Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. So therefore, this FLN is a necessary foundation and an indispensable prerequisite for the future schooling and lifelong learning, because it will directly make the access the ability to read age appropriate text. But today, these respective schemes are directly going on with various number of issues. Issues kya hai? Because we could directly see that this FLN today is directly going ahead with some number of rot learning. So since we have seen that this conceptualization of going in for repetition of the facts, reciting without questioning, and general lack of critical thinking are directly some of the impediments to these holistic forms of learning. Also, a false framing is directly coming into prominence, because the word foundational implies that certain aspects of numeracy and literacy must come first before any other learning can happen. And a good education system ensures numeracy, literacy, but without making them its single or primary purpose. Also, this FLN is creating a division amongst the children, because its prioritization is almost exclusively meant to be for children from rural and marginalized backgrounds, thus created two separate tanks within the Indian education. That is, one is the children of the elite class, having high fee private schools, getting to focus on rich and holistic content, and the other with marginalized children in low fee private public schools who will not be able to go beyond these foundational skills. And this presents significant long-term implications, with some children being highly skilled and more suited for allied professions, and other relegated to being just literate and thus facing a limited pool of low earning professions to be eligible for. So therefore, यहाँ पे हम लोग का ये डाटा बोला गया है कि 11% of the class 3 kids lack basic math skill, 37% have limited skills. लेकिन इसका भी हम लोग का बहुत ज्यादा issues है. So what can be the way forward? We can see over here. See, यहाँ पे हम लोग को एक parallel approach अपनाना पड़ेगा. Because see, the current education system, the policymakers as well as the people must overcome this misconceived sequential understanding of basic first and critical thinking afterwards. तो यहाँ पे जो basic ability है और critical thinking है, उसको हम लोग को साथ में लेके जाना पड़ेगा, तभी आगे बढ़ेंगे हम लोग. So the children did not be made to spend several years mastering in FLN to directly pass a test. So they need to be prepared to achieve contemporary educational goals such as critical thinking, curiosity, or empowerment. Even today, if you see about the teachers training, आजकल लोग डाइट्स पे जाते हैं, DIETS मतलब क्या? District Institute of Education and Technology. This often have got high vacancies, insufficient funds, and severe constraints, which directly impedes them from acting responsive to the local needs. So policymakers should also consider it, increasing budgetary allowance for teacher training institutions also, because अगर teacher train नहीं होंगे तो क्या होगा? Students भी train नहीं हो पाएंगे, students का भी literacy level, basic structure level कम हो जाएगा. So therefore, this number of approaches includes directly mastering basic reading and math skill as a part of the richer contextual learning, rather than getting for a prerequisite. We should directly make this country very much of literate, as well as in some point of time think about some of the critical thinking, rational thinking, and in some point of time we could directly make them a very good educational factor. ठीक है, तो इसके लिए हम लोग को इस पर्टिकुलर स्कीम को हम लोग को थोड़ा बढ़ा चला के विद अ पैरेलल रन वी हैव टू डायरेक्टली मेक दिस राइट रन इन दिस कंट्री. तभी हम लोग का ये जितने भी परसेंटेज है ये बढ़ेगा, जो अच्छा वाला परसेंटेज है. सपोजिटली यहाँ पे जैसे बोला गया है कि 11% ऑफ द क्लास 3 किड्स लैक बेसिक मैथ स्किल्स, ओके, एंड 37% हैव लिमिटेड स्किल्स. तो इसको हम लोग को बढ़ाना है. लिमिटेड स्किल्स नहीं होना चाहिए. Everyone should directly cooperate with them with some of the best of the finest skills so that they could render a good number of jobs in the near future. Okay, तो इसको हम लोग चेंज कब कर सकते हैं? If I am directly going with some number of responsive teaching, some number of order teaching, parallel teaching, critical thinking भी साथ में होगा alongside the basics. तो तब जाके हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग का एक डायलॉग याद आता है, पढ़ेगा भारत तो पढ़ेगा भारत. तो अगर हम लोग पढ़ेंगे अच्छे से, we are getting some of the good educational, at that point of time even the country will directly move on. तो ये था एक एनालिसिस अबाउट द बेसिक स्किल्स. नेक्स्ट पे आता है, फर्स्ट इंट्रानेजल कोविड-19 वैक्सीन. तो यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है? It directly says about that India directly went on for vaccine which is directly needle free. पहले हम लोग अभी जो वैक्सीन लगाए हैं, कोविशील्ड हो गया, कोवैक्सीन हो गया, जो भी है, ये डायरेक्टली नीडल इंसर्ट करके भरा हम लोग ने लिया था. तो therefore India's first intranasal COVID-19 vaccine is directly prepared by Bharat Biotech, which have received an emergency use authorization for India's first needle free intranasal COVID-19 vaccine. और इसको अप्रूव कौन किया? DGCI. Okay, which granted approval for the first intranasal vaccine, which directly is a major milestone in India's fight against the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so therefore this Bharat Biotech has received such number of approval, and today we can see that such number of vaccine is directly when been confirmed by our respective union health minister, be it Manshukh Mandavia ji, okay, who directly said about this to be a revolution in this COVID-19 vaccine situation. तो ये जो इंट्रानेशनल वैक्सीन है, इसको बोलते हैं हम लोग इनकोवैक, ओके, और यू कैन डायरेक्टली से इट एज चैड 36 सर्स COVS COVID-19, क्योंकि ये जो यहाँ पे हम लोग ने वेक्टर किया है, दैट इज अ चिंपांजी एडिनोवायरस वेक्टर व्हिच इज डायरेक्टली अ रिकम्बिनेंट nasal vaccine. Okay, so we can see that as part of statement released even by our respective union health ministry, the development of this international vaccine show how India has harnessed its science, research and development and human resources in the fight against COVID-19. So unlike Serum Institute Covishield and Bharat Biotech's Covaxin, which were very much intravenous, okay, ये directly हम लोग push करते थे, which is in intravenous in nature, the new vaccine that is developed by the Hyderabad-based pharmacy firm is intranasal and can be delivered in a needle-free manner. So this will be directly delivered through what? The nasal route, नाक से देंगे, making it a safer and more effective option. So even we could see that an intranasal vaccine stimulates a broad immune response, neutralizing every form of cell responses. And these immune responses at the site of infection are essential for blocking both infection and transmission in the part of COVID-19. So the development of the international vaccine is to fight the COVID-19 insignificant because similar to influenza, COVID-19 infection also passes through the nose and mouth route through the lungs. And therefore, having an international vaccine provides mucosal immunity by using the same nasal drop route used by the virus. अगर आज COVID-19 वैक्सीन हम लोग को नाक से घुस रहे, तो this we all know that this international vaccine will obviously be present in this respective route, which will provide the mucosal immunity, okay, used even by the virus because they are using the same route. So also we can see that if this needle-free administration, okay, it directly eliminates even the needle injuries and also some of the infection risks. Also, trained healthcare workers are not required for administration. क्यों? Because इंजेक्शन देने के लिए थोड़ा ट्रेन चाहिए हम लोग को. नाक में देने के लिए क्या है? नाक में तो हम लोग खुद नेजिवियन भी डाल देते हैं. It does not need a good number of skill. Also, we have got a higher compliance and suitable for use in children as well as adults. Okay, जो चिल्ड्रन होते हैं उनको ये सबसे तकलीफ होता है, निडल जो इंजेक्शन डालते हैं हम लोग इंसुलिन से, ठीक है, ऑल दिस रेस्पेक्टिव सिरिंज से जो डालते हैं, नॉट इंसुलिन, सिरिंज से जो डालते हैं, उससे तकलीफ होता है. इवन आई एम डायरेक्टली गोइंग विद द रेस्पेक्टिव एल्डरली, उन लोग को भी तकलीफ होता है. So therefore, it is directly highly compliant and suitable for use in children and some of the adults. Also, it is very much easy to deploy for mass immunization campaigns because the production can be scaled up relatively easy to meet the global demand. So therefore, this respective categories or this respective international vaccines will be very much suitable in the coming times to fight us against the very pandemic which has devastated the whole world and the respective economies of the country, that is the COVID-19. तो अभी हम लोग इंट्रावेनस से हम लोग कहां जा रहे हैं? इंट्रानेजल से जा रहे हैं. ओके, सो दैट वाज, यहाँ पे नोट आ गया है तो इसीलिए डायरेक्टली इसका एक पर्टिकुलर न्यूज था यहाँ पे. चलो नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. इंडिया बांग्लादेश सेट फॉर सेपा, कॉम्प्रिहेंसिव इकोनॉमिक पार्टनरशिप एग्रीमेंट. ओके, क्योंकि अभी बांग्लादेश प्राइम मिनिस्टर शेख हसीना जी, okay, she directly met the Prime Minister of India, okay, in this respective office of it. So following a meeting with the visiting Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, Prime Minister Narendra Modi even said India and Bangladesh will soon commence negotiations on the bilateral comprehensive economic partnership agreement. And thereby, they both believe that by taking lessons from the COVID pandemic and recent global developments, both countries should need to make the economy stronger. So therefore, we know that this Notably, the talks on the CEPA, that is the Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, it began informally in 2018 against the backdrop of increasing Chinese investments in Bangladesh. Also, it received greater attention given that existing regional free trade arrangements like the South Asian Free Trade Agreement, which is known as the SAFTA, have become dysfunctional. And to date, the countries have run a joint study after agreeing to terms and reference of the CEPA. So, ये CEPA होता क्या है? Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement होता क्या है? So, this proposed CEPA between Bangladesh and India has three dimensions, namely trade in goods, trade in services, and investment. क्या क्या मैंने बोला? Three dimensions: trade in goods, trade in services, and trade and investments. And the main target of the proposed agreement is to reduce the huge trade gap between Bangladesh and India and open up some of the new economic opportunities, including even connectivity, new markets and cooperation, and even partnership in associated fields. Moreover, if I see about this agreement, that is the CEPA, it is very much planned to resolve the issues and challenges of anti-dumping duties and rules of origin through the perspective of multimodal connectivity. Also, it recognizes the significant benefits of bilateral economic and commercial ties. Because today, if you see about the CEPA, this will incorporate a varieties of issues which will go with the mutual interest of both the countries, which includes the development of railway infrastructure, port infrastructure. Even I can see about the border huts. Border huts क्या होता है? ये trading post होता है. Regional connectivity through multimodal transportation. Today we can directly connect Kolkata to Agartala via Dhaka. तो ये सबसे हम लोग क्या होंगे? हम लोग की लाभ बनेंगे. So the agreement will create a new venture for cooperation and partnership, and to open up every opportunities for the creation of a joint production hubs and uninterrupted supply chains, which can also create new markets for both the countries. Today, we know that Bangladesh has already set up some of the 3 specific economic zones for Indian investors and Indian companies, which are investing in various sectors, which includes the telecommunication, pharmaceuticals, consumer goods, automobile manufacturing, etc. तो इसके लिए हम लोग का अभी खुला हुआ है. So we have to produce more amount of opportunities over there so that we could directly make a very unitary method of going in for trades as well as regulations. So therefore, you can see that this CEPA could potentially provide many future benefits against any extremities that we are directly facing in the global world. तो यहाँ पे हम लोग अगर CEPA operationalized हो गया, तो यहाँ पे एक एक्सपेक्टेशन किया गया है कि लाइक दिस बायलैटरल ट्रेड पोटेंशियल कुड बी अराउंड $40 बिलियन. सोच सकते हो तुम $40 बिलियन with just 2 things. And in the near time period, even some of the other cluster of connectivities could be increased with the neighboring countries. Okay, associated with the BIMSTEC. BIMSTEC क्या था? Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation, where Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar, all these respective people are directly interested. So to increase the respective connectivity, to increase a good number of trade, to increase a good number of investment in both the countries, today we could see that the CEPA is an important phenomena of the talks that is directly going in between the Prime Minister of India as well as the Prime Minister of Bangladesh on a visit to India. ठीक है, तो ये था एक respective element of the CEPA. Next पे आते हैं, UN slams Sri Lanka. ओके ये एक इशू था अबाउट, बहुत पुराना इशू था, तमिल अलाम वाला इशू था. ठीक है, तो अभी क्या किया है कि लाइक द यूनाइटेड नेशन ह्यूमन राइट्स काउंसिल, okay, it directly passed a deep flawed resolution on Sri Lanka that ignores call for an international investigation into alleged abuses during the fightings and other pressing human rights concerned over there. So even याद है यहाँ पे क्या बोला गया है कि like the human rights situation in Sri Lanka, which is decade after the defeat of the liberation tigers of Tamil Nadu by the government forces, तो इन्होंने बहुत वहां पे human rights violation किया है. So therefore, Sri Lanka, on the past records on human rights, its current economic crisis and corruption was the underlying reason of the country's collapse. And this is the first time UN body has explicitly connected economic issues with past human rights violations. And it encouraged the government to positively engage with the protest movements in broad-based and participatory process to address the border, political and systematic root causes. तो यहाँ पे UN ने क्या बोला गया है कि like UN directly said that it is very much concerned for the hundreds and thousands of people facing indefinite detention in some of the government camps. Okay, and the council even ignored the urgent, that is the Human Rights Council, of Sri Lanka even directly ignored the urgent needs and wasted an important chance to promote even the human rights in their respective country. Okay, so therefore यहाँ पे government approach भी दूसरा होता है, ठीक है, because even the Sri Lankan government never accepted such number of human rights violations in the country, so they rejected the resolution that is directly deplored that about the abuses by the government forces in the respective country of Sri Lanka. And even at that point of time, Sri Lankan government directly did not cooperate with this Human Rights Council, because they have been appealed, because the UN directly appealed the Sri Lankan government to respect media freedom and also investigate the attacks against journalists and human rights defenders. Also, you can see that the UN Human Rights Commissioner for Human Rights to keep the council informed about the situation on the ground. लेकिन वो भी श्रीलंका ने नहीं किया. So therefore, because of these respective regions, today we could see that UN directly slams Sri Lankan's rights record on the respective causes of the human rights that once have taken during the time period where the government forces have massively violated various number of human rights of the respective people belonging to the Tamilams, belonging to the people even of the Sri Lankan. So यहाँ पे एक condition चला गया था about the respective elements, जिसका केस अभी भी चल रहा है, लेकिन यहाँ पे श्रीलंका कभी एक्सेप्ट नहीं करेगा because it is directly a mistake of the respective forces which is directly a part of the government agencies. Okay, तो यहाँ पे वो एक यूज में था. नेक्स्ट पे आते हैं. For Vizhinjam, business as usual is not an option. तो ये डायरेक्टली बोल रहा है एक रेस्पेक्टिव पोर्ट के बारे में, ठीक है. तो विजिंजम पोर्ट इज डायरेक्टली इन केरला. ओके, तो अगर मैं यहाँ पे ऐसे दिखा दूं कि समथिंग लाइक केरला, ठीक है, तो केरला, दिस इज द पोर्शन, सपोजली यहाँ पे केरला ऐसे है, यहाँ पे इन दिस एरिया केरला इज देयर. ओके, सो वी कैन डायरेक्टली सी विंजिंजम डायरेक्टली ऊपर के पोर्शन में आते हैं, एकदम इन द नॉर्दर्न साइड ऑफ केरला. ओके, विंजियम के बाद कोट्टापुरम, ठीक है, देन थोत्तम, ठीक है, फिर अजीमाला, तो ऐसे नीचे नीचे आते रहेंगे, ठीक है. इज डायरेक्टली कमिंग southwards. So यहाँ पे directly in the northern side of Kerala you can find this Vizhinjam port. So Vizhinjam is directly near what? Near a very important city which is known as Thiruvananthapuram. Okay, so this Vizhinjam near Thiruvananthapuram is in the boil due to the under construction Vizhinjam port project from both sea and the land. So this international transshipment deep water multi-purpose seaport is an ambitious project taken up by the government of Kerala. And it is designed primarily to cater container transshipment besides even multi-purpose and break bulk cargo. And the port is being currently developed in landlord model with a public-private partnership component on DBFOT system. ये क्या है? Design, build, finance, operate and transfer. जैसे हम लोग देखते हैं कि लाइक पब्लिक में B2B होता है, ठीक है, लाइक बिजनेस टू बिजनेस. ओके, देन जैसे हम लोग G2G देखते हैं, गवर्नमेंट टू गवर्नमेंट, ठीक है. तो ये सब जो देखते हैं हम लोग रैशनलिटीज, पीपल टू पीपल, पीपल टू गवर्नमेंट, तो ये सब जो देखते हैं इसमें हम लोग ये मॉडल फॉलो कर रहे हैं, दैट इज DBFOT, दैट इज डिजाइन, बिल्ड, फाइनेंस, ऑपरेट एंड ट्रांसफर. सो व्हाई प्रोटेस्ट्स आर डायरेक्टली गेटिंग अपरेटेड? Because the protesters have been opposing the construction work by the Adani Vizhinjam Port Private Limited. Because the Adani group is developing the port on this respective basis. तो ये privatization के खिलाफ लड़ रहे हैं. So according to even the fisher folks, ठीक है, यहाँ पे because we know these are coastal areas, तो यहाँ पे fishermen बहुत रहते हैं. तो according to this fisher folks, the port work has aggravated the coastal erosion along the coast of Thiruvananthapuram. And a scientific study to assess the impact of the port work on the shoreline has to be conducted urgently by stopping the construction. Because around 300 families along the coastline were shifted to relief camps after their houses were destroyed due to high intensity coastal erosion. And the protesters demand a comprehensive rehabilitation package and assured minimum wage when the sea turns rough due to inclement weather and subsidized kerosene for the ports. Okay, so यहाँ पे since because of the rapid construction, because ये डायरेक्टली एक प्राइवेट एजेंसी ले रहे हैं, यहाँ पे हम लोग मल्टीपर्पस के लिए हम लोग यूज करेंगे दिस सी पोर्ट्स. सो इसका इंपॉर्टेंस बहुत है, लेकिन इसके लिए हम लोग का यहाँ पे बहुत ज्यादा डिटोरिएशन हो रहा है. वी हैव सीन अ मास नंबर ऑफ इरोजन्स डायरेक्टली टेकिंग प्लेस. सो दिस पोर्ट इज वेरी मच इंपॉर्टेंट इवन फॉर द गवर्नमेंट because the port is directly located on the southern tip of the Indian peninsula, just 10 nautical miles from the major international sea route. Okay, and also from the east-west shipping access. It has got a natural water depth of more than 20 meters within a nautical mile from the coast. Nautical mile मतलब 1 nautical mile is equals to 1.86 किलोमीटर. जैसे हम लोग रास्ते को, हम लोग लैंड को हम लोग नापते हैं किलोमीटर के हिसाब से, तो वहां पे हम लोग जब पानी में चले जाते हैं तो उसका डिस्टेंस हम लोग नापते हैं 1 nautical mile से. So this Vizhinjam port is directly likely to play a pivotal role in the maritime development of the country as well as Kerala. and the commissioning of the port is expected to leverage the growth of around 17 minor ports in the state, along with creating thousands of employment opportunities. लेकिन यहाँ पे since we have got a lot many number of families, so these families which are rehabilitated back in some number of certain camps, तो उनको एक अच्छा rehabilitation package चाहिए because their house are getting eroded. Okay, their respective जो mainly the fisher folks are there, तो coastal area में mainly you can find a good number of fisher folks who directly is dependent based on the fishing industry. So therefore even such number of things are directly getting deteriorated क्योंकि जहाँ पे construction होता रहेगा, जहाँ पे deterioration होता रहेगा of the soil, even the very marine fish or the very marine animals or even the fishes is directly going outside this respective area, and therefore the livelihood of them are directly at stake. तो इसीलिए उन लोग का एक प्रॉपर रिहेबिलिटेशन चाहिए, उन लोग का कुछ डिमांड्स है, एंड इसीलिए यहाँ पे इस डायरेक्टली एक क्वेश्चन आ गया है कि लाइक फॉर गजियाबम बिजनेस एज यूजुअल इज नॉट एन ऑप्शन. ऐसे ही तो ऑप्शन नहीं बन सकता है. There may be some number of criteria to directly settle such number of issues that is directly happening with the respective protesters. तो ये बोला गया है about these options of the editorial analysis. ठीक है, चलो next you have got all this respective 5 number of questions which you can attempt. Okay, and the answers you will get in your Telegram channel. Okay, so thank you for today. Jai Hind.